What's up, y'all? We got Fred Taylor, former NFL player and host of the Pivot Podcast. What's up, Fred?
What's good, B? Everything good on my end, man. Just making waves, making moves, making big pivots.
Hey, man, speaking of the Pivot, man, let's talk about how that came about. How did that show come about? Because we know you were on I Am Athlete. So how
Right.
did the Pivot come about?
Well, I think really, we didn't necessarily agree with the business, on the other side. We just decided we came to a conclusion, Shannon and myself, say, hey, we can do this. We can do our own stuff. Looking at a lot of feedback, from people that, was loving the other show
Right.
and loving the different, characters or hosts. Everybody had a favorite. Some people like Fred, some people like Freaky Fred, some people like Chan, Crazy Chan, some people like Ocho, and so forth and so on. So we looked at things and said, well, this isn't what we originally signed up for, and everything was going left. The show started changing a little bit more. It started to get a little bit more commercial, and started leaking some of the substance, much of what you see with us on the Pivot.
Mm-hmm.
But we just said, all right, let's do it. Let's pivot. And I always used to say pivot. That was the word. So we were trying to figure out a name. I was like, man, we about to pivot. So we just said, all right, let's name it the Pivot. And here we are doing our own thing.
Okay. How did you go about picking the next host for the show? Like, I know it was you and Channing coming over from a show that's already established.
Right.
What was y'all process in picking and Ryan for the show?
Well, Ryan is just amazing at what he does, man. And, seeing what he does for ESPN and all the other shows that he has. He has his DB precision. He has Face First. He has a UFC podcast with DA. Is DA and no, it's not DC and RC.
Okay.
And he does so much in the media space. So he also came over to the former show and sat in as a guest host once. So from that moment, like, all right, RC, get down. He good people. So we reached out to him. He's like, I'd be honored. No hesitation. He jumped at it. I think our initial hesitation was, if ESPN would sign off on it.
Okay.
And he said, everything was fine, so go. We started talking. We went straight to business structure, trying to make sure we got our contracts up, say, all right, this is our split. This is how we're gonna split, bust down the whole thing. And really from there, man, we just started, exploring opportunities for guests, different relationships, using our phone book to see who we can reach out to, right, and try to get this thing rolling. So we said the first show we would just have it with us three, so we can really just speak on it once about the breakup.
Right.
And after that, man, we just said we'll just start building and just start building bridges, man, through good relationships and friendships. So that's what it's been. But Ryan he's the perfect, I mean, it's crazy. He's the perfect fit for what we have going on. So it's not my podcast. It's not Channing's podcast. It's not Ryan's podcast. It's our podcast. Right. So we have five members in the Pivot Podcast Company. We have in-house attorney. We have our producer, and then Ryan, myself, and Chan. And that structure basically is for to mitigate, expenses and keep things down. So we're like, we can give away some equity as the company grows. So I think we're in good position to grow and continue to be a force in the space for a minute.
Okay, and I know you spoke upon the guests and the relationship. So far out of all the episodes, what has been like your favorite guest that you guys interviewed and you learned something new about?
Well, I can honestly say this. I do have a favorite. It's hard to speak on it because now the guests are like, yeah, that wasn't my show, but I think from a substance standpoint and what I believe in, and I think I always go back to how we can help people. You know, that's really what makes me feel good about an episode is were we able to drop gems, you know, not premeditatedly, but through natural, organic conversation. And are we helping people? You know, people that tune in, you know, people that hit your DM, you know, you see it, you can't reply to all of them,
Yeah.
but people reach out and say, hey, man, that changed my life. You know, husband, wives, kids, elders, like, you know, people reaching out saying these different episodes were life-changing. So to answer your question, the Michael Beasley episode, I mean, I think that episode is definitely Emmy worthy. Okay. And I think it's also, what's that YouTube award called? Streamy, I think it's called a Streamy. Yeah. So I think it's worthy of a Streamy. And, you know, it just hit home. Yeah. You know, I grew up not from a broken household, but more so from, you know, you have vultures and people want to take advantage of you. Right. You know, you're hitting from all angles from everybody, you know, just want a piece of you because they know you're going to come into a large sum of money, which is what happened with Mike Beasley. Mm-hmm. And just to hear his story, man, you know, just everything you mentioned in the episode, and people that hadn't seen it aren't familiar, they can tune into our Pivot channel on YouTube, and I'm sure they'll agree with me. But that Michael Beasley episode was super, super intense. Right. I had to hold back some tears. Yeah, but that's one of the best ones.
Do a lot of athletes go through that? Like, you know, with being the person in the family or around friends that bring in a lot of money, do a lot of the athletes go through people, you know, now asking for a lot of things or, you know, just going about things in that way?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And that's why that episode is so special and important, you know, for me and for us, is because it's going to resonate with so many of the young men out there. And right. So many stories that we've heard. I mean, if you just look at it, I think the statistic is around 87% of NFL guys, when they're done playing, they're broke or filed bankrupt or divorced or, you know, going through some sort of type of struggling situation. So to be able to shine a light on the problem mm-hmm. early, you know, I think it'll help people steer clear or circumvent their, you know, potential problems ahead of them if they listen. That's always the thing. They hear it, you know, they hear it a million times, especially through the transparency we provided. But not everybody listens, you know. And I had a conversation with the big dog, the big Aristotle, Big Shaq, the big Diesel, and he said, people ain't gonna listen. Like, if you can get them to listen, that's when you've done your job, you know. So, but the story resonates and it hits home. It hits very close to home, and hopefully people will take heed to it and check it out.
Absolutely. Let's pivot and bring some light to a comment that Channing made about, you know, Wilson and Ciara. Did you think that statement would go viral?
I didn't think it would go viral, you know, because when we did it, we just got together and said we were going to do a 20-minute, 15-minute clip, just a quick hit on free agency. Right. And we were just talking about the Deshaun Watson, you know, the fact that he had just been cleared of the criminal charges. Oh, yeah. And he signed a mega contract with Cleveland. Really, it was about that topic mm-hmm. along with some other free agents. Right. Somehow we got into Denver, guys changing places, got into Russ, and he said Russ is corny, right? And we didn't have an opportunity to let him expound on what he was saying right. because we said we got to go quick, you know. And RC, he's apologized. Ryan's apologized a million times to Channing for not allowing him to elaborate, right. you know. But when in the heat of, you know, making these statements, you know, you're not, you know, you're aware of certain things you say, but mm-hmm. certain things you just kind of just let it roll out. And if we ever thought it would be damaging, we have full control on the back end and post-production to cut out anything. Okay. And obviously, you know, the team, they didn't think it would be anything that would go viral. Mm-hmm. We definitely don't clout chase. You know, people say, oh, they clout. Nah, we ain't clout chasing.
Right.
You know, we not looking for no extra views on the expense of a disrespecting comment or whatever.
Yeah.
So that never came up. You know, Channing just basically simply said he saw a few videos that Russ did. I think one was Mr. Unlimited in a Braveheart video.
Yeah.
He's like, that's corny. But then he kind of went, you know, in a different direction with a comment that followed that. But, you know, he's Channing's straightforward. Channing's gonna do Channing. He's gonna be fun. He's gonna be funny. He's gonna be straightforward. It's black and white with him. He's fully transparent.
Right.
He's gonna speak his mind. So when and if Channing's ready to apologize or make a statement, I'm sure he will. But until then, we definitely didn't think it would go viral.
Understandable. Well, you did mention contracts as well. What do you think about some of these new contracts that these guys are getting, you know, the guaranteed money? And do you like the direction the NFL is going with, you know, trying to take care of their players?
Well, you know, it's a few things that it's good to see that the contracts are getting bigger. I think they're warranted. I like to see a lot more guarantees in those because someone can see a 8-year or a 7-year, $120 million deal. I think that I think the NFL is trying to make some headway with you know, the different contracts, the bigger contracts. You know, and I believe I tease when I say I was born 20 years too early because I know I'd be sitting on one of them fat boys myself.
Right.
And they look a lot like the NBA contract. Just the difference is the NBA contracts are guaranteed, whereas the NFL contracts, you know, people see the big numbers. They'll see a 5 or a 6-year extension onto a contract that might already have 2 years remaining on it. So now that makes it an 8-year contract. Let's just say it's a $70 million guarantee. So the guarantees are prorated over the life of that contract because it has to be salary cap friendly. So they're bigger, you know, and it shows good faith effort. There are some contracts that the teams try to get creative and make them fully guaranteed, depending on the player and the position. While on the other hand, the teams know how to get creative to satisfy a lot of the guys that have these egos who just want, you know, to be in the conversation of
the highest paid.
I got, you know, I'm the highest paid or top 5 paid or top 3 paid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it might look that way, but if you look at the life of the deal, it doesn't always speak to reality, right? But it's good for the papers. It's good for them to go post on social media and that other stuff. Yeah. But it does show good faith that a lot of the guarantees are bigger. And I don't know how long they'll be able to sustain that. But I do know that the salary caps have grown, you know, each and every year since the previous 2 collective bargaining agreements. And that was based on, we have so many different outlets to show the game. You know, you can show the game on Amazon, on Twitter, you can show clips on Instagram, Facebook, the regular networks, the NFL network. So there's so many different ways to monetize that content, you know, and get the game out there and sell ad space and sponsorships. So the NFL is perfect timing for these players.
Okay, and just to go back, for those people that don't know, I know you made a comparison for the NBA and the NFL with the guaranteed money. Can you just kind of break that down real quick, the difference in the guaranteed with the NBA contracts and the NFL contracts?
Well, the NFL, I mean, it's all based on the language. At the end of the day, I mean, they can say these things are guaranteed, but it really breaks on the language. You know, you can go into a guaranteed contract situation, but also have stipulations in there that talks about, you know, something as simple as the extracurricular activities that you do, you know, in your off season or in whatever free time you're away from the stadium. Riding a motorcycle, riding a jet ski, you know, playing basketball. If you're a football guy out there playing basketball, you get hurt, that might be a clause in there that takes away the guarantee. So, and I'm not overly familiar with the NBA guaranteed contract situation. And I remember on the last show, Buddy went viral for speaking out of turn, talking about they are guaranteed. Like, look, these contracts, he say they not guaranteed,
Right.
but most of the players I talk to, the contracts are fully guaranteed, with the exception of certain players.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you breaking that down. I know, and many other people know, Hall of Fame. If you could choose, and if you had some input on, the qualifications and what you need to reach the Hall of Fame, what are some things you would look for if you were voting players in, or things like that?
I think the number one thing is what is the criteria?
Right.
That's the big question. What's the criteria? I think other than guys playing in different eras,
Mm-hmm.
You have the pre-modern era and then the modern era. That's one thing that certainly divides, the players. But really, specifically, what's the criteria? Is it a certain amount of Pro Bowls?
Mm-hmm.
Is it rings, Super Bowl rings? Is it all pros? Do you have to lead statistically on any given year during your career in a category? Me, I play running back, so the example would be, would I have had to lead the league rushing for at least one of the 13 years that I played?
Right.
No one knows what the criteria are, other than maybe if you were more popular in your media market than some other guys. Okay. Because quite naturally, when you look at, it says the Hall of Fame, right? And you have some guys that are just simply media darlings. Okay. Some guys that some media personnel tend to gravitate to more. Might be a likable person, might be because he played in a bigger market. Mm-hmm. But I can say this, two things really, throughout my playing career. When I played in Jacksonville, which was not a great market, if we're winning, then it's more visibility. But if you're not winning, then you don't get any marketability. Now it's better and easier because all the different outlets, you got the Instagrams, you can get creative and grow content and marketability around the players. But during my time, it wasn't so much the case. So if I had 1,000 yards in Jacksonville or 1,200 yards in Jacksonville, someone in a bigger market, the equivalent to 1,200 yards, let's say in a New York market, might be 700.
Right.
So they're going to get the same, love that I would get for rushing for 1,200, and I did the heavier lifting. Right. So if there was one thing I would like to see change, along with the 48 selectors. So it's 48 selectors that decide on the Pro Bowl, on the Hall of Fame. 32 selectors from each team market, right. And then 16 national contributors. Okay. So it makes up 48, panel of 48 that determine if a player is going to make it to the Hall of Fame. So I like to see the players, the people that you played against, more input. Everybody that I've played against that's in the Hall of Fame, it should be a point system, right? Ray Lewis, based on what these guys did to get in there, maybe they get 1 or 2 points or whatever. But if you can ask anybody that I played, that I faced, they'll tell you I definitely had Hall of Fame ability. Mm-hmm. I left Hall of Fame numbers behind me. When I retired, I was 15th all time. 11 years ago, now I'm 17th all time. Only 2 guys have leaped in front of me since then. I think that speaks volume. Yeah, that's right. So I really believe what's most important for me is that I have people that can vouch for my ability and what I did on the field and what I did for the Jaguars. I was able to help an expansion team. I think that should go into place as well. Taking an expansion team and making them an identity early, giving them an identity early, and leaving my mark. I carried the team right. So I carried the team. When I was doing my thing, I carried the team from a percentage wise. The team depended on me. The games we won when I was there, obviously it's a team sport, but I contributed, 40, 30, 40, 50, 60%, whatever the percentages are. I left my mark there. But, again, most importantly is I'm gonna forever be in the Jaguars Hall of Fame. I'm in their Ring of Honor. That speaks volume. That's gonna be there as long as the Jaguars are in existence,
Right.
and that's very important. But I do believe that I had Hall of Fame ability.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I deserve to have a space in Canton, and that's simply based on my play and what other guys have spoke.
Right. And I think you're going to get in. And I do like the input of the players that you played against that are already in there having some type of vote, and, in the different tiers that you said that you broke down.
Right.
I think that should all, take place in how you get selected. So that is
right.
thing for you to say.
Yeah, but that's part of it. And again, I think it's just a testimony to your ability when other guys speak on it.
Right.
Marcus Allen, the Jim Browns,
Mm-hmm.
Even the Emmitt Smiths, the Ray Lewises. You have Bill Parcells. You have Bill Poley and these coaches and up front office, these all-time great GMs. My former coach, Coach Tom Coughlin. These guys have all seen players that have played my position.
Mm-hmm.
And when they can speak that highly of my play, I think it should be a little easier for the selectors to sort of help them make their decisions. But again, I think it'll happen. At what point, I'm not sure. But I've been semifinalist twice. I got to get in a big room, which is the finalist room, the top 15.
Right.
And hopefully they can do a deep dive and really just look at the teams that I faced, their rankings in any given year, from the Ravens, the Steelers, teams I had great success against, players from there that are in the Hall of Fame, and really just say, you know what, it probably took the fair amount of time to get him in there, but we're going to get him in there. So, but it'll work itself out.
Yeah, you're going to get in there. We're going to get in there. We got to use that power of the internet and start sending it and, being marketable, like you said, and just do it on your end, and everybody else contribute, because the stats and all, your playing career speaks for itself. So now you just got to do the other work for it to get in, which you shouldn't have to, but,
it's part of it. Right.
Yeah. But I got one more question that a lot of people probably want to know. Man, how many hats do you own?
The crazy thing is, man, back in the day, I was going through the phase of big T-shirts. I'm wearing 4XTs, big jeans, throwback jerseys. I probably got, even now, man, I went in my attic and pulled out a big box a few days ago.
Right.
I probably got about, 100 or so throwback jerseys, but they all super big. I can't even rock them now because they size 56 is which is like a 3-4X. These days, when I'm gaining weight, I wear my clothes smaller, as opposed to when I was smaller.
Right.
As opposed to when I was smaller, I was wearing oversized clothes.
Okay.
So I was trying to fix the phone. To answer your question, man, I had so many hats back in the day, more than I have now. Now I have hats, people either, sending me hats, sending me merch to rock their merch. People are, people buy me hats, gift me hats.
Right.
Man, I don't know how many. I got well over 100. I ain't even got nowhere for them, to be honest. I don't have nowhere for them. I don't got nowhere for my sneakers. I got 4 closets in this house taken up. I got a whole bedroom taken up. Probably sitting on like 700-800 pair of sneakers.
Right.
I don't know how many of them dry rotted. I don't know, man. Just got too much shit.
Well, man, that was just a question I had to ask for myself. I want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people out there want to know it. But I do appreciate you taking your time to come on, man, and answering some questions and getting on this call with me.
Hey, bro, appreciate you having me. Anytime I can come on and help out, I'm more, I'm here. Just, hit me up and we'll make it happen, bro.
I appreciate that, big bro.